Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive? Today we're tackling alchemy.
Alchemy. Sounds exciting.
It is, but forget the bubbling cauldrons and, the whole turning lead into gold thing.
Okay, going deeper then.
Way deeper. We're talking about the kind of alchemy that happens inside us, the transformation of the self.
That's a different take on alchemy. To help us out, we're diving into, Jeffrey Raff's Jung and the Alchemical Imagination.
Jung and the Alchemical Imagination, got it.
Raff basically argues that for centuries, people, they've misunderstood alchemy. They saw it as this purely external thing.
I see.
But what if it was really about inner alchemy all along?
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So how does Raff connect alchemy to this idea of inner transformation?
Well, Raff looks at alchemy through the lens of Jungian psychology, right?
Okay.
Jung believed in this concept of the self, which is essentially like the core of who you are, like your true potential.
Right.
He saw alchemy as a metaphor for this process of, what's it called, individuation.
Individuation.
Yeah, that's like the journey of, uncovering and becoming your true self.
So it's like alchemy isn't about actually transforming, physical elements, but instead like transforming yourself.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You have all this potential locked away inside you, but it's buried. Kind of like like a diamond hidden deep underground.
I like that.
Alchemy, the way Raff sees it, is the process of like digging up that diamond, cutting away all the stuff, obscuring it, and just letting it shine.
That's a great analogy. So how does this inner alchemy actually work? Like what are the tools or processes involved?
One of the most important tools, according to Raff, is imagination.
Imagination.
And we're not just talking about, daydreaming here.
Yeah.
The alchemists, they really believed that imagination had real power.
Okay.
A way to bridge the gap between our inner and outer worlds.
Wait, so they thought imagination could actually have an impact on like the physical world, not just like what's going on in our heads?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It is wild. Raff even points out how they called imagination the subtle body, almost like this invisible bridge between the material and the spiritual.
That's fascinating.
I get this fascinating example from Paracelsus, the famous alchemist. He believed that if you could deeply connect with a plant, like through imagination, like really understand its essence,
Okay.
you could then tap into its healing potential.
That kind of reminds me of how some people use aromatherapy today.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about the scent, right?
Right.
They believe those essential oils have these inherent properties that can like influence, your mood or your well-being.
Yeah.
It's like they're harnessing the power of the plant through this different kind of understanding.
Absolutely. And think about the placebo effect.
Right.
That's another example of how our minds can have like actual effects on our bodies.
Totally.
Paracelsus was really onto something, centuries ago.
Right.
But here's the thing. The alchemists didn't stop at just understanding the natural world. They believed this power of imagination could even help us tap into something even bigger.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. What could be bigger than that? Bigger than like tapping into the healing power of plants? You're going to have to explain that one.
Okay. Picture this. The alchemists, right, they were obsessed with symbols, like obsessed. They created all these intricate illustrations to represent their ideas. We're talking, dragons, kings and queens, mystical birds, you name it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some of those images. They're pretty out there, aren't they? It's like something out of a dream.
Exactly. And that's not a coincidence. Raff talks about how these alchemical images, they weren't meant to be taken literally.
Okay.
They were like visual representations of what was happening in the psyche, the unconscious mind,
So they were trying to illustrate those like really deep, often hidden parts of ourselves. I like that.
It's like they created like a visual language for the soul.
Wow.
And Raff, he spends a good chunk of this book breaking down one set of images in particular, the Book of Lambspring.
Okay, the Book of Lambspring?
Yeah, it's like a visual guide to the whole alchemical process.
Okay.
With each symbol representing like a different stage of transformation.
That's cool. So it's like each image is a clue, like a piece of the puzzle of inner alchemy.
Right.
What's a good example from the book?
Well, Raff starts with the very first image, which is surprisingly simple.
Okay.
Just two fish swimming in a stream.
Two fish. Okay.
Seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But of course, there's a deeper meaning here. Remember we were talking about that hidden potential?
Yeah.
The self buried inside?
Like that diamond in the rough?
Right. those two fish, they represent that initial, like that glimmer of the self emerging from the unconscious. It's like the very first stage of this inner journey.
Okay, that makes sense. But the fish are just, swimming along.
Right.
How does that represent, actual transformation?
That's where the action comes in.
Okay.
The catching of the fish.
Ah, okay.
That's where you come in.
Okay.
Raff says that symbolizes the conscious mind, actively engaging with the unconscious, right? Trying to like draw out that hidden potential.
Yeah. Wow, I love how even a simple image like that can hold so much meaning. So what happens next in the Book of Lamb Spring? Like, do we see what happens to these fish, how they get transformed?
We do. The book goes on to depict all these other stages of transformation.
Okay.
Each with its own unique symbol. There's conflict, there's separation, even death.
Hold on, death? Now that sounds kind of intense.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about, personal growth, not like, existential dread.
Don't worry, we're not talking about literal physical death here.
Okay.
Remember, it's all symbolic.
Right, right.
In alchemy, death often represents letting go.
Okay.
It could be old patterns, limiting beliefs, even parts of your identity that, they don't serve you anymore.
Ah, okay, so it's more like a metaphorical death.
Right.
A shedding of your old self to make way for the new.
Exactly, like that classic image of the phoenix,
Right.
rising from the ashes.
Yeah.
And that new self, that's what the alchemists call the manifest self.
Manifest self. Okay.
The fully realized version of, who you're meant to be.
This is all so fascinating. Okay, so we've got the hidden potential, the fish, then the work of bringing it to the surface, and then this process of transformation, even death and rebirth.
Right, right.
But Raff doesn't stop there, does he? He takes it even further with this idea of the third conjunctio.
The third conjunctio.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
This is where things get really interesting. Remember how we were talking about imagination, how it bridges the gap between our inner and outer worlds?
Yeah. Well, the third conjunctio takes that idea to a whole other level.
Okay.
Raff, he describes it as this mystical union.
A mystical union, okay.
Between your individual, your manifest self, that fully realized version of you we just talked about.
Yeah.
And something much, much bigger.
Okay, now you're just teasing me. What could be bigger than your full potential?
The alchemists, they believe there was this whole other realm.
Okay.
A source of ultimate wisdom and creativity that they called the psychoid.
The psychoid.
And they believed that by achieving this third conjunctio,
okay,
by merging with the psychoid, they could tap into this incredible universal power.
Whoa, hold on a minute. The psychoid, is that a spiritual thing? Are we talking about some kind of divine connection here?
That's exactly what the alchemists believed.
Wow.
And what's so fascinating is that Raff suggests maybe they were onto something.
Really?
He doesn't just dismiss it as mere superstition.
Right.
He sees it as this profound insight into the nature of consciousness.
Yeah.
And the interconnectedness of everything.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. So we've gone from digging up a diamond to catching symbolic fish to merging with the entire universe.
Quite a journey.
What does this all actually mean for us? For the listener who's hearing all of this for the first time, from personal transformation to universal connection. That's quite a leap. But I have to ask, how does this third conjunctio, this merging with the psychoid, how does that actually work? Is this something we can actually do?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about these, grand alchemical ideas, but how do we actually apply them to our lives?
Exactly. Are we supposed to be out here catching, metaphorical fish and just hoping for the best?
Well, Raff suggests that the key lies in something we've touched on before.
Okay.
Imagination.
Right.
Remember how the alchemists, they saw it as this bridge between the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
They believed that through certain practices, we could actually strengthen that bridge, make it more real, more accessible.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. So what kind of practices are we talking about here? Give me the inside scoop.
One of the most powerful techniques, according to Jung at least, is called active imagination.
Active imagination.
It's like having this direct line to your unconscious mind.
Okay.
Instead of just letting thoughts and images kind of drift by, you actively engage with them. You have a dialogue, with the symbols and archetypes that pop up.
So it's not like daydreaming. It's more like, what's the word? Like lucid dreaming, where you're aware and in control.
Exactly. It's about, becoming conscious of those deeper parts of ourselves and learning to like communicate with them.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that Jung, he believed this wasn't just some like mental exercise.
Yep.
He thought that by interacting with these unconscious symbols, we could actually gain, real insights, find creative solutions to problems, even tap into like this wellspring of wisdom that's always been there.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. So by using our imagination in this active way, we can start to bridge that gap between our conscious and unconscious minds,
Right.
and maybe even open ourselves up to this larger reality, the psychoid that the alchemists were so fascinated by.
It might sound strange, but think about it.
Okay.
We already kind of do this in smaller ways all the time.
Yeah.
When we lose ourselves in a creative project,
Right.
we tap into this flow state where like ideas just seem to come from nowhere.
Right.
Or when we have a gut feeling about something.
Yeah.
That's often our unconscious mind trying to to tell us something.
Right.
Active imagination is like taking those everyday experiences and just like turning up the volume, becoming more intentional about accessing that hidden wisdom.
Wow, this deep dive has really changed my perspective on imagination.
Right.
It's not just like, some frivolous pastime. It's like this powerful tool that we can use to unlock our potential,
Yeah.
connect with ourselves on a deeper level, and maybe even tap into something larger than ourselves.
And isn't that what the alchemists were really searching for?
Yeah.
It wasn't just about, turning lead into gold. It was about transforming themselves.
Right.
Achieving like a higher level of being.
It makes you wonder, like, what we might be capable of if we could all just, tap into that alchemical power within ourselves.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
From the history of alchemy to the depths of, Jungian psychology and the mysteries of the psychoid. What's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Something that wasn't explicitly stated in Raff's book, but that might inspire them to continue, exploring these ideas.
Reading Raff got me thinking, what if we haven't even scratched the surface?
Oh, wow.
What if the true legacy of the alchemists, it isn't some long lost formula, but this radical idea that we're not limited by what we can, see and touch.
Right.
What if our minds, through imagination and intention, have the power to shape not just our own lives, but like the very fabric of reality?
Now, that's a thought-provoking question to end on. It seems like the alchemists were onto something truly profound, something that speaks to the very core of what it means to be, to be human, our endless capacity for transformation, our connection to something greater than ourselves, and the power of our own minds to unlock the mysteries, within and around us. If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I definitely encourage you to check out Jeffrey Raff's Jung and the Alchemical Imagination. And as always, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the world with open minds and hearts. Thanks for joining us.